Hello, good evening. For anyone who obviously has children, soon it is going to be the summer holidays. Sorry, I'm just trying to adjust this so you can actually see what I've been doing here. And what I've been doing is putting together a few short sort of YouTube clips with some tips and ideas of things you could do with your children. Now, briefly in the back there is my slow cooker, of which I am melting wax in order to remake candles. I have used Babybel wax to do this with a mixture of old broken candles that I found lying around the house. For more information about how to do this and how I've achieved this, you can find information on my YouTube page. Now, one of the other things that I have started doing recently is using modrock to make sculptures by reusing and reclaiming other sort of items I've got around the house. Now, if you go online, there'll be a lot of information about how to use modrock, health and safety tips, the sorts of things you can do with it. And one of the things I've started to do with the modrock that I purchased is I am actually making a dinosaur for my little boy. Now, originally the red part of the dinosaur was a lamp. It came with a job lot of lamps that I brought at an auction a number of years ago. Anything that is obviously electrical needs to be pack tested, and what I found was that none of the lamps I actually purchased worked. So I thought to myself, well, what could I do with them? So I've took all of the electric parts out. With this one it was pretty easy because there's a hole at the top, and if I just turn him over, there's a huge hole at the bottom which you can see straight through. So there wasn't any need for any wires or to be sort of ripped out or pulled out. I literally just unscrewed the fitting at the top, pulled the wire through the base with the plug attached, and I threw the wire into a box. And what I'll do with that wire over the next couple of months is I will strip it down so that I can reuse the copper for another art project instead of just throwing it away. So what I've done, like I said, is I've kept the base, and it's going to be actually a three-legged dinosaur, unless I look at building onto the lamp base and using it as an armature to add four legs to the dinosaur as opposed to the three that already form the base itself. At the moment I have added a neck, and I've also added a tail. There's a piece of wire in the top, and there's a piece of wire in the tail itself, which all I've done basically at the moment is roughly sculpted how I would like the dinosaur to be. Now, with modrock, I would say it's very child friendly, but please bear in mind that it is usually made of plaster of Paris and what I call bandages. So with regards to the dust from the plaster, if you are going to do this job, make sure that you're in quite a well ventilated area, even if it is in the house, because when you actually cut modrock, it's quite strong. You can actually use your hands, but usually you'd use a pair of scissors. But as you can see, when I'm actually pulling this apart, you can see the dust from the actual plaster of Paris come off. So if you do have small children who may have breathing problems such as asthma or something, it's probably not a good idea to use anything like this that can obviously be inhaled over long periods of time. So the best thing to do, if possible, is to probably pre-cut the strips yourself as an adult, and then already dampen these with water so that when they do become used by your child, they're already sort of like in a moist sort of slick format, which will make it a lot more easier to use. Because again, one of the other issues with things like this, anything that can form like a powder, the same with if you use air drying clay, is that the clay itself isn't potentially harmful. It only becomes harmful when it's in powder format, which can be classed as a carcinogenic. Again, for more information about things like this, Google online about the information. If you feel that I need to add any links to my YouTube page, I'm more than happy to do this. So just be vigilant that if you are going to do a project like this with a child, that there will be a powder residue that can occur from using modrock or even air drying clay, which is readily accessible from many places now on the high street, or if you choose to use an online store. So again, with this, because I have used wire, I would advise that if you are going to use wire as like an armature and not just like a ceramic base, I mean, you don't have to use a ceramic base. You could upcycle a milk bottle carton, a glass milk bottle if you felt brave enough. There's so much plastic in the environment at the moment, so one of the things that you could do as a project is upcycle, like I said, water bottles, milk bottles, even a cardboard box, and then add the modrock to the armature, or the base as you might want to call it, in order to make something. So with this one, I have actually made a dinosaur. Prior to making a dinosaur, if you just bear with me for one moment, I actually made, I'm just going to pan up a little bit with the camera, I actually made a jewellery tree. Now again, there's quite a solid base here. It was part of an ornament I had lying around the house. It broke. This itself actually has concrete inside it, as I've figured out after researching how it was possibly casted or made. And so it was quite a solid base, so I knew that the likelihood of anything that I moulded or sculpted onto the top wasn't likely to fall over, because it wasn't going to end up being too top heavy. And again, all I've basically done is used some wire, which again you can get online. You don't have to buy it offline. You can use floral wire, you can use something that's called armature wire, you can use pipe cleaners is a good option as well if you have any of those lying around. Something that you can actually add the modrock onto. And then all I did was just basically use my own imagination. Children are brilliant at that kind of thing. And I made a jewellery tree. And one of the things I did with the wire that I used was, if I just turn this around slightly, is I made some little holes in the wire just at the end there, just big enough to enable me to thread my earrings through, just, you know, to keep them safe. And then with all of the branches, I have made them just strong enough to hold things like costume jewellery, like necklaces and bangles. And then I've added a little crocheted rose flower in the middle to, sorry, I think it's gone a little bit blurry, it's just gone out of focus, just for a little bit of decoration. And then the other thing I did was I had some leftover glitter, which I mixed up with some PVA glue to decorate it. A word of advice, I probably wouldn't use glitter with children. It is a nightmare to clean back up. But if you wanted to do something maybe with someone a little bit more older who was prepared to help tidy up afterwards, then fair enough. The other thing is glitter. You can get different types now on the market, but I know for a fact that the glitter that I've used isn't environmentally friendly. It's from an old stock. I've probably had it in the cupboard for about 10 years. and I just thought to myself, you know what, I just need to get rid of this now. So if you are going to look at using things like glitter, look and see what's on the market today. There are things out there that are supposed to be more environmentally friendly, whereas I know this glitter that I've used would contain some type of plastic. So hopefully I've given you some kind of idea of things you can do with your children on a rainy day or during the summer holidays. So again, you know, use some modrock, make some dinosaurs, make something for the garden. If you are, however, going to be putting something like plaster of Paris, which is what modrock is, in the garden, you're going to have to make sure that you make it waterproof. And again, there are products you can purchase online. They're usually in aerosol format, so again, do your research before using them. Make sure they are in a well ventilated area. So if, say, my son said, well, I want this in my garden, I don't want to keep it in the house, I would have to make sure that I used something in order to make the plaster of Paris waterproof. Otherwise, over time, this would start to decay quite quickly due to it not being water resistant. So thank you very much for watching my 2 YouTube clips. If you want to follow me on YouTube, please feel free to do so. If you have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to contact me. Like I said previously, I will be adding more links throughout the summer. So thank you once again.